So yesterday we were at this point. So for the future branch, we are just trying to create a local tracking branch. So let's look at the branches that are there in this particular local repo that we created yesterday. So if I say git branch, so we have feature branch, feature duplicate branch, and master branch. So if I switch to feature branch, so there is something called as git branch hyphen vb, which says what are the tracking branches that are associated with. So if you see for the feature, there is an local tracking branch that is already been attached. So this happened just because we created it yesterday, right? So how actually we have to create is, so when you want to create a local tracking branch for a particular branch, we need to delete that branch, and then what we have to do is we have to delete that branch first of all, and then we have to again create a local tracking branch for that, because git fetch will automatically create the remote tracking branch that we have seen yesterday. Now if I switch to, let's again I'll show you with another branch the same process, but for now we have done for feature duplicate as well as for future. So if I go ahead and see, if I switch to the feature branch, let's say what are the changes that we have done here. So if we have a latest commits for, so we have feature master and the feature sample. If you go to our remote repository, we have something called as feature master, new feature file, and feature sample text. So what basically is happening is, so we created a separate text here in the remote repository. Now we want to bring these changes onto our local repository. So that is what we have to do. So we know that git fetch will basically, what this will do, this will bring out the changes from the if you go to our ppt back again, so we know fetch is something that brings the data from the remote repository to the remote tracking branch. That's what we discussed, right? So when we use git fetch, it gets the data from the master branch onto the, I mean the remote repository branch to the remote tracking branch. From the remote tracking branch, we are creating a replica of that in the local, which is a local copy and editable, which is the local tracking branch. From the local tracking branch, we can just do a switch over, or we can create a branch for that to get those changes into the local branch. So that is all what is about remote tracking branch and local tracking branch. Let's quickly rewind with another branch, but for now our intention is to get those changes onto the local branch. So when I say git fetch, what this will do, now we have some changes on the remote repository. That means like we created a new file on the remote repository. So when I say git fetch, it will get the data from the remote repository onto the local remote tracking branch. So now from the remote tracking branch, we have to create a local tracking branch to track the changes on the remote tracking branch, so that the local branch will also be in sync with that. It will get automatically updated when we run the git pull. So if I go to this particular our repo again, so if I go back to our repo, so this is our repository. So we don't have that here. So if I say git pull now, so we got that file here. So this is how we haven't gave origin or future, because they are tightly packed. We created a local tracking branch. So this local tracking branch will monitor the remote tracking branch, and this remote tracking branch will keep on monitoring the remote tracking branch. The whenever we do git fetch, the details on this will be coming onto this. So when we say git pull, these details on the remote tracking branch will be coming onto the local tracking branch. So we created a local tracking branch that way. So again, I'm just rewinding the whole thing. So our whole thing is, whatever changes that we do on the local has to be put onto the remote tracking branch, I mean to the remote repository, and whatever that we do on the remote repository has to come back onto the local repository, right? This is all what we have to do now. So now what I'll do is, I'll quickly create another branch on the local first. So this scenario goes this way. Again, I'm repeating from end to end so that we will get a little more clarity on this. So what I'll do is two intentions. One is go to local repository, create a branch here. So we need to create a branch here, and from this to the remote repository, I need to push that branch details. Okay, so I need to push from the remote repository onto the local repository. So this connection I have to establish, and again I shouldn't give the origin and all these details. So I need to establish a closed repository. Like I need to so we should have something like what to say, we should create a local tracking branch as well as the remote tracking branch, so that they will be in sync with each other, and whatever changes that we do on that should be reflected over here, and whatever changes that we do on this should be reflected over there. So let's see how we can do that. So the first thing is I'll create another branch on the local repository using git bash. Okay, so now what all branches that we do have, we have git branch, feature branch, and master. So let me, I'm on feature now. I'm creating a new branch here with a name as git switch -c and the repeat. Okay, so this is my new branch on my local repository. Okay, so this is my repeat is my new branch on the local repository. Now let me create a new file over here. I call this as repeat text. Okay, so this is called as repeat text. Now I'll commit this change on the local repository. I'll push this onto the local repository. From the local repository, I'll push this to the remote repository. So the first thing we have to do is we need to push to the local repository first. For that I am saying git commit -a -m, and I'm also committing this message like repeat 1. So this pushed data to the remote repository. If I say git status, there won't be anything on the, there is nothing to be committed. Now to push this to the remote repository, we already added the origin, right? We know what is origin. So git push origin. Origin is nothing but the aliases for the remote repository URL, and which branch we want to push is repeat is the branch that we want to push. So when I say repeat, what this basically will do is this will create a new branch on the remote repository. So if you go to the remote repository and just refresh this page so that you will see the changes on the remote repository. So once I refresh this page, if you go to this repeat, so this is how we create a branch on the local and we push the same changes to the local repository. So now what I have to do is now this part is done. We are successfully able to commit changes on the local repository and we are pushing that successfully to the remote repository, right? And now the intention is whatever changes that we do on the remote repository also has to be brought on to the local repository, right? So that is the other thing that we have to do. For that, what we have to do, when you use git fetch, it will let's say if I added a new file over here, I'm adding a new file with name remote repo text .txt. Okay, remote repo repeat remote repeat.txt. So this is the new file that I added in the remote repository, and I am committing the changes. Repeat remote. So this is the commit message that I am giving, and I'm committing this file now. So once I commit this file, what happens now is we have a commit that is been added here. Now our local repository is not in sync with this remote repository, right? So if I say git fetch, what happens? It will bring up the changes from the remote repository onto the local. Git fetch will bring the data from the remote repository. So repeat text. It came onto the local repository now because, so let's say I'm saying git branch hyphen -pv. So when I say git fetch, basically it should come onto the git branch hyphen. So if you see this, when I say git branch -a, it will basically gives us all the local branches as well as the remote tracking branches. So when we execute git fetch, basically it creates a remote tracking repository, remote tracking branch for us. So this is the remote tracking branch that is given, that is created for us. And this remote tracking branch don't have any like tag things, any local tracking branches, but the changes got reflected over here. So let's try creating a local tracking branch over here. So if I say git push, so this say when I'm pushing these changes to the remote repository, it is saying like there is no upstream set for this. So for this, we need to create a local tracking branch for this remote repository. To create a local tracking branch, we know the syntax is git branch hyphen hyphen track. So we are creating a local branch, a local tracking branch, so that it will be connected to the remote tracking branch, and from the remote tracking branch, as it is a local copy of the remote repository, it will get updated automatically. So when I say a git feature, and this is the branch name, git branch hyphen hyphen track repeat is our local branch, and also the remote branch is origin forward slash repeat. So this is our remote branch. So when I execute this, so it is saying like a branch named repeat already exists. So we cannot create a local tracking branch with the repeat existing. So what we have to do is we have to switch to master. We have to switch to master, and then what we have to do is just get that deleted. So git branch hyphen d, and then what I will do is git branch hyphen d and the branch name that I want to delete. So I'm deleting repeat branch. So once the repeat branch is deleted, now I'll create a local tracking branch for that remote repository. So if I go and see git branch hyphen vb hyphen a, which shows all the remote repository, remote tracking branches and the local branches, I don't have the repeat branch here in the local, but I have a remote tracking branch. So if I simply check out this, I will get all those details. So if I check out this remote origin repeat, I will get all the changes that are there on this particular branch, or all the details that are there on this particular branch in the local. So what I'll simply do is I'm just checking out to this to show you those details. So when I check out to this, you will see all the files that are there on the remote branch, but every time we cannot do a detached head, so it is not a good practice. So there is a much simpler way than this. So what we do is, again, we will create a local tracking branch, so that we doesn't need to go to the once we create the local tracking branch, it will be tightly packed with the remote branch, so that we doesn't need to go to detached thread, create a branch every time and then merging it, and all these things shouldn't be done. So what I'll do is I'll simply go back to the master again, and I'll create a remote tracking branch for that remote branch. So to create a remote tracking branch, the command is git branch hyphen hyphen track, and the branch that I want to create is repeat, because this branch should always be same as the name of this local branch should always be same as the branch name of the remote repository. Okay, so that is something which you have to keep in mind. Now the remote repository path is origin forward slash repeat. So this is the git branch hyphen hyphen track repeat origin forward slash repeat. So now there is a repeat branch which got created, and it is saying like branch repeat setup to track remote branch. So this branch is set up to track the remote branch report from origin. Origin is nothing but it's an aliases for the remote branch URL. Okay. Now let's see the branches again, all the local branches and the remote branches. When I say git branch hyphen a, we have a repeat local branch. We also have a remote tracking branch. So when I say git branch hyphen vb, so this says repeat branch is tracking repeat branch on the origin. Origin is nothing but the URL. On the URL, this repeat branch is tracking the repeat branch of the origin or the remote repository. Now everything is tagged. So all the three branches are tagged, right? Are tagged to the remote tracking branches. So if I say now git, I'm switching to this feature branch now. Sorry, repeat branch now. So when I switch to the repeat branch, so we have everything over here, right? So now what I'll do is I'll just create a new file over here. I'm creating repeat to text. So I'm creating a repeat to text. Once this is created, let me commit this. So I'm adding that new file again. and git commit -a -m and repeat branch to something like this. I'm just giving. So when I say git push, I didn't give origin and the future, so I'm not specifying them. I'm just giving git push. So with just git push, it is pulling all the details from this particular local branch to the remote tracking branch. So if I go to the remote branch and I just refresh this page, what happens is, so repeat 2 came over here, and the same in the similar manner I will create a new file over here. So what I will do is I'll name this as repeat again .txt. So I created a new file over here, and then I'm committing this. So let me commit this as added new file. I'm committing this file now. Once this is committed, now if you go back to the remote repository again, and here you just doesn't need to give the git fetch and all. If you say git pull, it is a combination of fetch and merge. So if I say git pull, and if you observe this file, so repeat again came into this. So it's as simple as this. So first of all, the thing that you have to do is you have to create this pack, that concept of remote branch, local branch, and in between you have to create local tracking branch and remote tracking branch, and you need to make sure that local tracking branch is tagged to the remote tracking branch. That you can see with the command called as git branch -vb. Okay. So that is how we tagged. So even if you go to the feature branch, let me switch to the feature branch. It is also attached to this remote branch, right? The same thing happens to the feature branch as well. Now if I do add some file over here, so git, I'm adding a new text file over here. Feature repeat is the text file that I added. So I commit that git add dot git commit -a -m and the name of that feature 2233. Okay, once I'm done with this, I just need to say git push. That's all, because it is already tracked to the remote tracking branch. So if you go to the remote tracking branch and if you go to the feature branch, so whatever feature repeat text file that we have added, it directly came over here. So it's not so complicated when you establish this connection. That is the whole point over here. So let's say I added a commit over here. Okay, again I'm creating new files over here, and I'll name this as feature remote repeat. Okay, once I do this and once I commit these changes, feature remote repeat, so once I do this and I commit this, what I do is, if I go back to this git repository back again and I just say git pull, once I do this git pull, all the details that are there in the remote branch are coming over here. So this is how we create a close tracking branch. Like we create something like remote tracking branch, local tracking branch, and the local and the what to say and the remote branch. So once this is established, it is simple like git push and git pull. So this is how feasible git and github are attached. So that's the reason they became most popular together. Okay, so is this clear? Hello.
Yeah, continue, sir.
Okay, so the next thing is how to delete the branches on the remote repository. So now we created a branches, we are doing the changes on the local branch onto the remote branches. Now let's see how do we create branches on the remote repository. So there is a command called as git branch -delete remotes. And let's say I want to delete a branch with name as, so before that let me just check for the branches what are all there. So git branch -a gives us all the local repositories and the remote repositories. Now we are trying to delete a branch with a particular name on the remote repository. So to do that, what I can do is git branch and hyphen hyphen delete and hyphen hyphen remotes and the path of the branch. Let's say I want to delete the branch with name repeat. So if I do this origin repeat, so once I clicked on it, so if it deleted some branch. So if I say git branch hyphen a, so we don't see the remote tracking branch in the list of the branches that are displayed over here. Now we deleted the remote tracking branch, and now let's go to this particular remote repository, just refresh this and look whether the branch got deleted or not. So if you look at that, repeat branch didn't got deleted, but only the what to say, only the remote tracking branch got deleted, but the remote branch didn't got deleted, right? Because we were still able to see the repeat branch over here. But to delete the branch on the report, this is how to we delete the remote tracking branches. So if I say git fetch again, it will basically fetch that remote tracking branch again for us. Okay, so let's just give a try for that. If I say git fetch now again, what happens is, so let's say git branch hyphen a, this gives us all the branches. So it's as simple as that. Once we execute git fetch, by default git will create as the remote tracking branches. It will get all the code from the remote to the remote onto the remote tracking branches. So but if we want to delete the branch completely from that remote repository as well, we can use the command called as git push, and the name of the URL, name of our remote repository is origin, and hyphen hyphen delete, and the branch that I want to delete is repeat. So if I execute this, this will not only delete the branch on the local repository, I mean it will not only delete the remote tracking repository, but also it will delete the branch on this repository as well. So you can even look at the git URL on which it is acting over here. So this is deleted, right? So if you go back to your remote repository, and if you refresh your page, if you go to your GitHub, so if here you don't see the repeat branch now. So this is how we delete the so this is how we delete the branches on the remote repository. Okay, so we discussed the whole things. Now what all we discussed? We discussed how to push the code from the local repository to the remote repository. We discussed how to how to create an a personal access token, and we also seen where it is actually storing in the local in our local machine. Like it is getting stored in credentials managers, Windows credentials. We discussed that, right? So if you go to the credentials managers, it will be stored automatically over here every time. So that's the reason we are not giving this every time. So as this is getting stored over here, we are not giving this every time. It is just retrieving the data from here. If you remove this, you just need to give it every time. So that is one thing. We created personal access token and we use that. And the other one is we have also clearly understood about or we discussed about creating a remote track, how the remote tracking branches will be created, how to create a local tracking branch, and how to attach that local tracking branch to the remote tracking branch. And we also discussed like how the local tracking branch is attached to the remote tracking branch and what command will do what. So git fetch will basically fetch the data from the remote repository onto the remote tracking branch, and git pull is something, it is a combination of git fetch and git merge. So if you see this slide, git fetch will get the data from the master onto the remote tracking branch, and git merge will get it onto the local branch, whereas git pull is the combination of both merge, fetch, and the merge. Okay, so that is the whole thing. So we created a pack for each and every branch, and we simply used git push and git pull to just traverse the data from the local repository to the remote repository. So we have seen all this stuff and we even created this. Okay, so this is the final overview of all the things that we have done. What we have done, git remote. So this is something which I didn't told you till now. So if I say git remote, so it says what are the remote repositories that are connected to this local repository. So for now we have only one that is connected, which is what to say, which is the origin. Origin is nothing but the aliases for the remote repository URL. Okay, so that is git remote. So if there is something called as git remote show origin, so git remote show origin. Origin is nothing but the URL. This shows us all the configurations of the remote repository. So if you look at this, this is the fetch URL, and this is also the git URL, head branch is master. What are all the tracking branches? What are remote branches that have been tracked? Future is tracked, future duplicate is tracked, master is tracked. So local branches configured for git pull. So what are all the local branches that are configured? So we configured all this, right? We created local tracking branches for all this. Okay. So local references configured to git push. So this feature pushes to the future branch on the remote. So this is all like pull and push configurations. What is tagged to what? So that is what it is clearly shown over here when you execute this command. So this is how useful for us. So if you execute this command alone, what are all that is going on this particular remote and local will be, I mean, local and the remote will are shown here. So this is one such important command to show, to look at what is happening in this particular branches strategy. Okay. And we also seen what is git branch -a. So git branch -a will show us all the remote tracking branches as well as the local branches, and git branch -vv is something which shows us what branch is tagged to what. So if I execute git branch -vv, this shows us which branch is tagged to what. So this future branch is tagged to future branch of the origin, and future duplicate is tagged to future duplicate, and repeat is tagged to repeat. Okay. So this is actually, we deleted it, so that's why it's saying as gone. Okay. This is all about, so once we created a local tracking branch for this, we will see these kind of things, or else we will not see. For master, we haven't created any local tracking branches. That's the reason we haven't done this. So let's just create a one more scenario. Let's say, can we use directly git push for the master? Let me do some changes on the git on the master branch quickly and see whether we were able to use git push directly, because we haven't created any local tracking branches or the local tracking branches for that. So if I switch to master now, if I switch to master, what basically happens is it goes to the master branch. Now here, let me create a new file of text. Master trail is my text file. So on this master file, let me commit onto this master remote repository, remote this branch. So when I say git add, it will be added to the staging area. Git commit -a-m, and the message is m2. Okay, I gave this message. So when I say git push now, let's see whether this will be pushed to or not. So this again is saying like the upstream is not set. It is not sure to which branch on the local it has to push, because there is nothing that is tagged to this master. There is no tracking branches that are created. Local tracking branches attached to the remote tracking branch is created. So every time when we do a push on this, so we have to specify specifically like this is the origin, or this is the URL where you want to push my code, and then you have to give, also give to the master, also give the into this origin, to this branch, from this branch you have to push. So when I execute this, it will push the code from the local to the remote repository. So that is the only advantage of tracking the branches. So if we have n number of branches, every time we doesn't need to really specify this origin master. This is just creating an tracking branches. This is how we create tracking branches. Okay, is that clear?
Yes, Mohan.
So now there is something that we have to discuss to wind this off completely. So that is setting up upstream. So upstream, what is upstream? Upstream is nothing but specifying what is its the upper branch to which it is trying to push. So once we create this upstream, this creating of, once we use use a command like I'll tell you that. So once you use that, you doesn't really need to bother about everything like what you are doing right now, creating local tracking branches on your own, creating doing the fetch and all this stuff. So let me quickly create a new branch again with something called as git branch is something. So let me switch to git future branch, and let me create a new branch. So on the fly, if you use something, it will create an upstream. So once the upstream is created, by default everything will be packed up. So that is as simple as that. So when I switch to the future branch, and on this future branch I'll create a new branch. So when I say git switch -c upstream understanding, okay, this is my branch name. I created a new branch, and this is the branch on which I am there. So here I will again create a new text document, upstream understanding, team understanding. So I created a new text file, and I'll commit this particular file, git add dot, okay, git what I need to do, I need to commit this git hyphen commit hyphen a hyphen m and upstream understanding one. Okay, so this is my commit on my local history, on my local repository. I have all these things now. Okay, now when I execute this something or let's git branch hyphen a. So you see we have an upstream branch here, but we don't have any local remote tracking branches for that. And now to push this code onto the remote repository, we know the command is git push origin and the branch that you want to push create. So they should be the same name as the local branch, so that they will be it would be easy for us. You doesn't need to go for the other different things, so it will be easy for us. So always try to make the same thing, same syntaxes or the same names from the local to the remote repository. So if you see git upstream und, so this is the branch. Along with this I will add something called as hyphen u. So this will say set the upstream for us. So hyphen u will basically create upstream for us. Tracking branches will be automatically created. So once you use this hyphen u, this tracking branches will be automatically created. So it pushed the code from the local repository to the remote repository, whatever branch that we have created right now. So look at this. So upstream understanding is created. And also if you go back to your this remote repository, when I say git branch hyphen vb, so upstream branch is already set to upstream und. So this tracking we haven't created. By default it is done because we just created a new branch and we have done that. We added hyphen u. So now what basically happens is this is as simple as that. That's like a very hectic topic. We were creating local branches, we are doing fetches and all. So let me do a change over here. We haven't, the first thing that you have to remember is once we added hyphen u in the push thing, the branches, the tracking branches are automatically created. You haven't created any local tracking branch for this upstream branch. That is the only thing you need to understand. So let me create a dummy file here, dummy.txt. So I created this file and I'm commenting this. Okay, I'm commenting this file and I'm just pushing this to the remote repository. I mean, I have done a commit on the remote repository and it is there. If I go back to my commit again, so if I just do git pull, what it will do is it will get that file to us. So this remote is automatically done. Let me show you the difference on the fly again. So when I say git, I'm creating a new branch on top of this branch. Okay, git switch hyphen c upstream 2. So this is my branch name. Okay, upstream 2. I created a new branch. I'm on top of this new branch. Now I'll try to push the code from this. Git push origin upstream 2 is my branch. Upstream 2, I haven't gave this upstream hyphen u syntax to automatically create the tracking branches. I haven't gave that. So once I do this, so it again created a new branch on the remote repository. If I refresh the space and see the branches, I also got upstream 2 branch over here. I'll go to the upstream 2 branch. I'll create a new file here. I'm creating a new file with name as upstream 2. So here I'm giving it as upstream 2. Okay, and I'm just committing the changes, saying like committing new changes. I'm committing new changes and I'm committing this file. Once I committed this file and when I come back here, so if I say git pull, look at or else we can simply see git branch hyphen vb. So that will gives us clear differences. So upstream 2, you look at this, there is no tracking branch that is created, right? So but with upstream, as we used hyphen u, it also created a tracking branches automatically for us. So when I say git pull, so it's saying like it got the changes or not. So git pull remote origin, there is no tracking information for the current branch. Okay, that is what it is showing for us. There is nothing There is no tracking branch. We have to create the tracking branch, whereas in the earlier case it is not the stuff. Okay, so it automatically got the data for us because it automatically created the upstream 2 file didn't came over here. Okay, so that is a big difference of using -u, and -u got our things very easy for us. Like it only created all the tracking branches that are needed for us. So again, if you want to create a tracking branch for this, what you have to do, it's like an additional one command that you have to execute, right? So that command is nothing but, sorry, git branch -a. For that, for creating an upstream local tracking branches, what you have to do is the first thing that you have to do is you have to create a local tracking branch for that, because you haven't used -a. So for that, you just need to execute this command and you have to see what branch has to be tagged to what branch. So git upstream to, and the other one is origin / upstream to, right? / upstream to, origin upstream to. When you do this, a branch named upstream 2 already exists. So already these branches exist, so we know what you have to do, right? We delete this branch and then we need to create an upstream branch for that. As this, it tries to create this branch and it tries to get that get the data from the remote repository onto this, as this branch already existed. So if you want to create a local tracking branch, then what you have to do is you just need to switch to other branch. So I need to switch to other branch, and then I have to say git branch -- track upstream to origin upstream to. So now what it will do is it will create a branch named upstream to already exists. So we haven't deleted that branch yet. It's my bad. Git branch -d upstream to. Okay. So this will delete the branch, and once the branch is deleted, if I execute this, branch upstream 2 is set to track the remote branch upstream 2 from origin. So if I switch to that branch now, git switch upstream to. Okay, once I switch to this, if I use git pull over here or git branch -vb, it will show that upstream 2 is already been tracked, and by the local local tracking branches and remote tracking branches are already been there, and it is tagged to the upstream 2 branch of the origin. So that is what, if I say git pull over here, you will get all the data from the remote repository onto the local repository, as it is already there. As everything is already up to date, it is saying already up to date. So this is all about connecting the local repository to the remote repository, understanding of the local tracking branches and the remote tracking branches. And to, if you use -u, which is the upstream, when you are pushing the code for the first time, it will automatically create the local tracking branches and remote tracking branches, so that you doesn't need to take all this hectic, like go switching to the other branch, deleting the branch, and then getting the changes from the remote repository into the local repository. All these things doesn't actually needed to be done. Okay, so this is all about connecting the local repository to the remote repositories. Okay, I hope this is clear. This is clear, right, Kati? Hello. Hello.
Yes, Mohan, if you have a new branch in your local, and you have some files, I mean, in your local you have a branch and you have some files in that branch, and how you will push to the your suppose, I mean, you didn't clone your project, but you want to push this branch to the something like in remote project, you have a URL, how you will push this?
So we saw that, right? The first thing we have to do is when you want to connect a local repository to the remote repository, you have to use git remote add origin. Once that is done, it establishes a connection between your local repository to the remote repository. Once that is done, it all depends on to which branch you want to push from the which branch.
I mean, without adding that origin, you just mentioned the URL, you can't push like that. I mean, like
instead of origin, instead of origin, you can also give the URL. Origin is nothing but it's an aliases for the URL. Every time we cannot give the that lengthy URL, right? So instead of that URL, we are just give origin. That's the reason when you use git remote add origin, origin is nothing but the aliases for the URL. When you use git push, instead of origin, you can even give the URL and the branch name.
Okay.
Yeah, that is something we can do. Now let's look at how to clone a project, already existing project in the remote repository, and how to act on it. Till now what we have done, we created a local repository and then we pushed the local repository to the remote repository, and from the remote repository we were getting everything. I mean, we were traversing forth and front and forth, right? So now what I will do is I'll clone the project from the remote repository into my local, into my what to say, into my local repo. So this is my empty now. I want to clone this project from this particular repo URL. So to get that, we will get the URL from here. So I copied this URL, and if I go back to my local repository, git bash, the command to clone this project into our local is, you just need to give git clone hyphen control V. So when I say this, when I paste this, what happens is when I give the clone, so all the details, it got cloned into our repository. So the GitHub Explorer is the project name, which is the repository name that we created in the remote repository. So if you look at this remote repo name, it is git repo URL, right? GitHub Explorer. So with that, a folder will be created. Inside that we will have everything. So now if I open a git bash over here, so if I open a git bash over here, git branch, sorry. So if I open git bash over here and just now look at everything. So it's, so if I say git branch, we have only one master branch, right? So if I say, I mean to say, if I say git branch hyphen a, what happens is we have all the remote repositories. We have all the remote repositories, I mean remote tracking branches, but we have only one, what to say, well, we have only one local branch, that is master, right? So now if we execute something called as git fetch and see what happens. So when I say git fetch, what happened is, let's go back and see git branch hyphen VV. So again, it is been tracked to the master on this, and let's say git branch hyphen a. So again, we don't have any branches that are there on the, we don't have all those branches in the local, but we have only remote tracking branches for us, right? So now what you have to do for everything, for every other branch, what you have to do is, now you want all these branches, right? So the only thing that you have to do is you have to create a local tracking branches for this. So how to create a local tracking branch? Git branch hyphen hyphen track. Okay, once this has been tracked, git branch hyphen hyphen track. So the only thing that you are concentrating now right now is this is the remote tracking branch that is available, and on the remote repository as well we have this branch, right? Now we want this branch on the local repository as well. To do that, what you have to do is, already we executed git fetch so that all the code in the remote repository is there in this remote tracking branch. Now from the remote tracking branch you need to get onto the local branch, right? I mean local repository. To that you need to create a local tracking branch. Once local tracking branch is created, it will be tagged to the remote tracking branch, so that all the changes on the remote tracking branch will be there on the local tracking branch as well. So the only thing that you have to do is you have to create a local tracking branch with the same name. So I am creating a local tracking branch for the future, git branch hyphen hyphen track future, and the remote tracking branch URL is origin / feature, right? So once I do this, what happens is a new feature will be in a branch, a future branch is created, and it is set to future from the origin. So now what I'm doing here, so I'm doing something like this. So if I say git branch hyphen a, now when I say git branch hyphen a, what is happening? Now we have two features, one is master in the future, and if I execute git branch -vb. So the feature branch is tagged to the feature branch of the origin, right? This is a local feature branch. It is tagged to the feature branch of the origin. If I switch to the feature branch now, git switch feature. If I switch to the feature branch, now we are on the feature branch. Now I can again simply create a new file over here. It can be any file. Let's create an Excel file, sample Excel. I'm saying sample Excel file. So I'm adding all these files onto the, again I'm committing it to the local repository in the same file. So git add dot git commit -a -m and the some message excel1. Okay, so now if I say git push, simply because it is the tracking branches are already created, so it will push the code from the local repository to the remote repository. So if I go to this feature branch now, I should see that Excel sheet. So just give a refresh, or that's needed. We are switching the branch, right? So if you go down here, so you will see an Excel file that is created. So this is the Excel file, and also you can see the commit histories. So we have done some 7 commits over here, and these are the codes of those commits. So if I say git log over here, and if I go back here, so look at the commit histories: b4 eb983, b4 eb983, 7e52. So these are all the 7 commits that we have done. So you can even see the messages e1 feature remote f33. So this is all about handling the cloning project. When we clone the project from the remote repository, the only thing that you have to do here is you have to create the local tracking branches to get the changes from the remote repository onto the local repository. So this is all about cloning a project from the remote repository. So this is all about GitHub. I mean connecting the Git to the GitHub. Okay, right. And let's discuss few more topics on the GitHub. Now we are very clear with creating everything. I mean to say connecting and establishing connection between the things and exploring the data that is there on the different branches. So the first thing, that the other thing that you have to do is you need to understand what is this pull request. So what is this pull request basically means is, let's say I'm a developer. There can be n number of developers working on a simple project. So it is not always sure that everyone is as much experienced as possible. I mean, everyone in the team will not be more experienced. Maybe we will have various kind of experienced people working on the project. So it is always mandatory to make sure the code that is pushed into the master file, which is the production copy, should be always follow all the standards, all kind of better algorithms. So if I write an algorithm with order of n square, and if I'm using that for the Google search, so it is not a feasible algorithm. So there is something that needs to be validated when it is pushed to the local repository. So when I say I have a person with 1 year of experience working in my team, it is always good to review his code and then push his code into the remote repositories. So I mean to the master branch, which is the production copy. So to do that, this will be used. So this pull request basically how it works is, let's say I'm a person who is working in the project and I have just 1 year of experience. So what I have to do is I'll write a piece of code. All right, I'll write some piece of code here, and I'll submit this for review to the manager. So the manager has to review that code, and then he has to tell me what needs to be changed, or whether it is good or not. So I have written some lines of code, and I'm giving this to the manager for a review. So it can be anyone. Let's say he is the reviewer who is reviewing the code of you. So he is the manager who is reviewing your code. So what you will do is, so to this manager, you are passing your code to this manager. So you're passing this code to this guy. So what he will do is, so using this to push his code for a review, you are just using something called as pull request. So you are using pull request to submit your code to the manager who is the reviewer. So you are creating a pull request, and this pull request will ask your manager to review your code. Okay, so then what happens is, the next step is this guy who is the manager will review your code, and let's say if there is an error at line number 5. Okay, at line number 5 you have to perform some change, and the rest is all fine with him. Okay, rest is all fine with him. So let's say you need to perform some changes at line number 5. That is what he mentioned to you. in his review comments. So he gave you some comments like this. So he asked you to change the line number 5. So it comes, so he will say he'll reject that pull request and he will give it back to you. So the process goes this way. So the pull request which you submitted is returned with some comments, with some reviewer comments. Okay, he mentioned some comments saying that these are the changes that you have to perform. Then again, what you have to do is you have to perform those changes whatever he mentioned to you. If you have anything that needs to be told, like this is the intention of developing this thing, so this will help in this way. If you have something that like that, you doesn't need to actually change the code and you can put the comments on top of it. But if you feel like that change is better for the production copy, so you have to do that change again. You have to create a pull request. So this process goes on until your code is approved. Once the code is approved, then you will get a chance to merge this code with the master branch. So we have a production copy Pino. There is an super copy which is the production copy. Once this is done, your code will be allowed to be copied onto the production code. You will be allowed to merge your code onto the production code. Okay, so now what happens is once it is approved, your production copy can be pasted into the remote repository. Not only you, there will be n number of people who is working on the team and will follow the same process. So they will get their code reviewed by someone who will be the reviewer or the team manager or the architect. So he will review the code and this process goes on between the one who developed and the reviewer. Once it is approved, that will be pushed on to the production branch. So this is the production copy, and the production copy will be put, this copy one which is reviewed will be put onto the production. So this is how pull request cycle moves on. Okay, so this will be, he is the reviewer and this is the production copy. This is the production copy and this is something pull request rejected. Pull request, there will be many things like changes suggested, rejected and all this stuff. So now let's see how this basically happens in the real world. Okay, so I'm opening my branch, like upstream 2 branch is the pull request. This is the pull, this is the branch for which I want to create a pull request. So I'm creating a pull request for this upstream 2 and look at this. This is upstream 2. I'm saying like I'm putting some comments to me. So I say uh, added feature upstream 2. So I can say some comments and you can write whatever you want to do. And if you see, there are some reviewers, assignees, labels, projects and milestones. So if you go to the reviewers, I hope these are all things you can explore on your own. I'm leaving that for you, but this is not so pretty important. But if you see the reviewers and request up to 15 reviewers, so you can assign a reviewer here. So but you don't see any names over here because you are the only one who is the collaborator for this particular project. There is no one who is actually have access to this project. So if you go to this, one second, I'll also show you the path. So if you go to your settings, this is your GitHub repository, and if you go to the settings, look at this manage access. Manage access says who all have the, what kind of repository it is, whether it is a public repository or the private repository, and the collaborators who can actually commit the code or who have the access to contribute to this repository. So you don't have anyone in this project. That's the reason you're not seeing anyone inside this particular project. So if you want to add someone to this, you just need to give their name, or you just need to give their name over here, and a mail will be triggered for them asking for their approval whether he is interested to join this project or not. Let me try with some sample name that I do have here. So I'll try with your name, Ganesh. So when I go to the DevOps team, Katik, can you give your ID of this GitHub?
Okay, Mohan. Okay, Mohan, just one second.
Huh?
Okay, just one second. GitHub. Just search with my email ID k.ganesh3090.
K.Ganesh
3090
3090
@gmail.com.
gmail.com. This account don't have it, I guess.
Try this again. Ganesh K3090.
Ganesh
K3090
3090.
@gmail.com.
I saw that. So I'm adding Ganesh, this person, to the as a collaborator. So there is a pending invitation for him. So he will get an email asking for his approval. So once he goes to his email and approves this, I will he will be added as a collaborator for this. So can you accept this request as well, please?
Okay. I got the invitation.
Did you accepted that?
Uh,
Can you share your screen and show that invite when you are accepting that? I'm stopping my screen share.
okay. Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, we are able to.
Okay. Yeah, this is the invitation. Okay. Okay, I'm clicking on this view invitation. So you can see accept invitation or decline. Mohan, are you there?
I don't see only Skype. I don't see your email. Only I am able to see your Skype window. Share your entire screen, I guess.
Okay, let me share again.
That beside chat, yes.
Stop sharing.
Stop sharing. Share your screen again.
You can see now.
Yes. So this is how once we add a collaborator, he will get an email asking for accepting the invitation. Once he accepts that, so once he clicks on view invitation, he will be redirected to some other place, and that's the page. Once he accepts this invitation,
Yes.
now he will have access to everything. So he's able to see all the branches. Can you find the branches? He is able to see 5 branches over there, and so the one thing that you have to notice here is he don't see the settings option that I'm able to see. So that is all about the restriction access that he has basically. So it all depends on the restrictions or the access that I provide to the collaborator that I have added. Okay, so this is all about this is how we can add someone as a collaborator, and once he accepts that invitation, we will be back to we can see him added as an collaborator to our project. So let me share my screen now, Ganesh. So I'm sharing my screen now. So let me know once you're able to see my screen.
Yes.
So now if I just refresh this page, as he accepted the invitation, so he is a collaborator now, right? He is a collaborator now. And if I go to this manage access, and I can see there is one collaborator for this, which is with this name. Okay, now if I go back to my pull request again, So this is something which you will see when someone created a pull request. Like, let me go to my project back again, and I am trying to create a pull request for this upstream 2 branch. So as I told you, so if I go to my reviewers now, I can see the name of that collaborator who is over there in our team. So we provided access to this guy to review my code. Okay, so I am adding this guy as a reviewer. So now he reviews my code and he provides approval for my code. Okay, so now what I will do is I created so what we want to do now, we want to merge the branch, which is this branch. So as I told you, 1 second, I should get an email. I am not getting. So the whole intention here is we want to merge the code from this to the master branch, which is the production copy. It can be any branch. For now we consider that as a master branch. So that is should be happen, right? So before merging into the production copy, this iteration has to go over. The first thing he is doing, I am doing right now is, now I made Ganesh as the reviewer. I'm submitting my code to him saying like, this is the code that I have developed. Please review it. So he will do a cancellation on the request, and he asks me to do some suggestions on the code. I will do those suggestions. I'll push that, and again I will send it for a review. So this is what we are gonna reproduce now. Okay, so now what I'm doing, so this says I have a branch called as upstream 2. My intention is to merge this code from the this to this. So now what I will do is, so create a pull request, create draft pull request. Draft pull request in the sense it will not be sent, but I'm creating a pull request now with the reviewer assigned to this. But let me make sure it's the reviewer. And if you scroll down, and you will see what are all the changes that are being done at different commit levels. So this is a new feature file upstream 2. These are all the text files that we do have. As we haven't added any commits, we were not seeing any differences. But if we add some commit differences, let's say we will do it in the next step. So it will show what is the difference that you have done in this particular commit. What is the code that was there earlier and what is the code that is there now. We will shortly see that as well. We will add certain comment, we will do a change, and then we will see the differences. But now you can see all the comments that you have done, all the details about this particular branch. Okay, before merging it. So now what I am doing is I am creating across 2 branches. If you need to do so, you can also compare across folds. I am thinking this is gonna be auto merged, but let's see, because there are no changes that are being done. So when I say create a pull request, so it is getting automatically merged. Adding him as a reviewer. He's my reviewer now. So have you got any mail to you, Ganesh? It's saying awaiting requested review from Ganesh. So I raised a request for a review to him. So now he should also accept this, I guess. We added him as a collaborator. Now we are requesting him to be a reviewer. Let me know once if you got any mail for that. Ganesh? Hello?
Hello. I didn't get it. I didn't get it an email for notification.
Didn't got any mail. Then why it's actually awaiting requesting review from Ganesh 3090.
Even I went for my GitHub and checked the pull request assigned to me. It was showing nothing.
Now can you check whether you got anything? So now it is saying review is requested. Review has been requested on this pull request. It is not required to merge. So this review is requested. Show the reviewers. If you see the reviewers, he is the reviewer for me now. So once this branch has no conflict with the base branch, so it is also saying like there is no conflicts, but this review comments, we need to wait for this review comments. Once the review that we requested went to him, now he will review that and he will give us some suggestions. we have to do that. If there is no suggestions that are given, we can simply merge this pull request to the master branch, and then we can simply delete this branch. Okay, so that is something that you will see later, but let him share his screen and give us some comments. Can you share your screen quickly and show us how you are seeing that?
Yeah, okay. Hope you are able to see my screen.
Yes.
Yeah. Either I can see login, click here and go. I got an email like upstream request from the pull request.
A mail is triggered asking him to review this review the pull request that is created to his email ID, and also if he goes to the pull request,
even if you go the repository, I can see directly pull request one is open. If I click on open,
click on the pull request below that upstream to.
yeah.
So he's doing his he can review what are the changes that are done. Right now we haven't added any comments to the comments to this, so that's the reason he is not able to see any differences. But for now he can add a review for it. So he can scroll down and he can write a comment saying like you can say add a text to a particular file. So add text to give me a file name that is there above. Add pull request understanding text to a branch, a particular file name. Ganesh, can you scroll up to the top, and there is something called as add review at the top. Click on add your review. So scroll down. So here he can see all the changes that we have done, and now he wants me to add a text to feature.txt file. Okay, you doesn't need to actually edit it. You can even edit that we will come to that later. But for now, you just ask me to do a change on whatever file it is, dummy.txt. On dummy.txt, you ask me to add a change. There is a click, right? Viewed. Click on it, view. This is how he can directly go to that file, and he can do the things over here. He can see the raw data, or if you click on raw, he can see the raw data, or a normal data that is saying raw data is like editable things like that, something like that. So again, go back to your pull request. Now add your comments at the down, so you are not seeing it. Commits. File changes checks. Scroll down here. Where is that? Here you can say me. So he's saying like add a text to dummy.txt file. Add a text for, or else say me like this. Add understanding pull request. Add text understanding pull request to dummy.txt. So this is the change that he's asking me to do now. I will do that change and again create a pull request, and that is the only change he requires so that he can approve. Wait, don't comment it. Close with comment. So he's closing the pull request, with a comment. So now that pull request is closed, and now if I come back to my now if I go back to my particular repository, now his action is done. He closed the what to say, he closed the pull request with some comments. He wants some changes to be done. That changes I have to do, and I have to give it back to him. Okay, so now let me start sharing my screen. Now I'll go back to my pull request. That's the first part is done. So I created a pull request to this reviewer, and he found me to add a line at a particular file, and he closed this commit. Right now I have to do the changes, and again I have to create a pull request. So if he gets satisfied to that, he will approve the pull request, and he can even merge that, or else we can even merge that to the base branch, which is the master branch, production branch. Now let me show you how do I need to do that. So he suggested me some changes. So now I can view those commits. I can view those data. So if I go to my pull request history, so he's saying like add text understanding pull request. Okay, he closed this with unmerged commits. The pull request is closed, but the upstream branch has unmerged commits. Okay, so now what I need to do is I need to do these changes. What he asked me, he asked me to add text understanding pull request to the dummy.txt. Which branch it is? It is branch upstream 2, right? So let me go back to my code, and let me go back to my upstream 2. So that pull request is closed. That's the reason you're not seeing anything here. So that pull request is already closed. Now if I go to my upstream 2 branch, so this is my branch. What I have to do, to the dummy.txt, I have to add a comment. Okay, so if I go back to my local repository and my git bash, so I need to concentrate on that commit right now. So let me switch to that branch quickly, which is my what is that branch? Dummy2, right? So git branch hyphen a, this shows us all the local branches as well as the remote branches. But now I don't have that branch created, so I need to create a local tracking branch for the upstream 2 branch. So to create a local tracking branch for that, so I need to say git branch hyphen track, and the branch name, which is upstream 2. This is the code that I want to commit right now. So upstream 2, and here I have to give origin and origin upstream 2 origin upstream 2. Okay, so this is done. So now I created a local tracking branch upstream 2, which is tracking the remote branch of origin. Okay, now what I have to do now is if I say git branch hyphen a, so I have 3 branches: future, master, and upstream 2. And also feature, master, and the upstream 2. So these are the 3 files that I do have over here, right? So now let me switch back to the upstream branch. So git switch upstream 2. So I'm going to that branch because on that branch I have to do some changes. So that's the request, that is the reviewer comments gave to us. So here let me get the latest code from the GitHub. So when I say git pull, as it already have tracking branches, local tracking branches created, and the remote tracking branch will be created by the git automatically. So it is everything is up to date. Now what I have to do here, to the upstream 2.txt, to the dummy text file, I have to add understanding. So I have to say understanding pull request. So this is the, so this is something that the reviewer requested for us, right? So I'm closing this. Now I need to commit this. So git add dot is something I added, git commit hyphen a hyphen m, and I need to say added requested text. Okay, so this is basically done, git commit hyphen a hyphen m. So if I say git status, there is nothing over here, everything is committed. Now what I can do is, as already local tracking branch and remote tracking branch are created, so I can just say git push. Once I have done that, the changes that the reviewer requested is done in the code, and it is pushed to the GitHub now. So if I go back here and just refresh your page, now what happens is what is that? Why there is no pull request? So we added this text. So what I have to do is, now I create a new pull request again. There are not any open pull requests. One closed. So this is the pull request which is closed, and let me go to this pull request, and I should have an option to reopen pull request. So he closed the pull request, right? Now what I can do is I can leave a commit over here saying like added understanding pull request text to, added pull request text to dummy.txt file, dummy.txt file. So I am saying reopen and comment. So I'm reopening this pull request, and it is again submitted for the review, one pending reviewer. So now he will see that pull request again in his tab. So he will approve that, so that I will be able to merge these changes to the master branch. So that is all what's going to happen now. Now he will quickly share his screen and he'll approve the changes that I have done. Okay, so he can share his screen now. Ganesh, you can share your screen now and show us how to do this, how you are approving it. So once it is approved, we will be able to actually merge that. So now so go up. Are you able to see my comment? So I added something called as this text. So there should be something like so he can see the text, understanding pull request. Expand that review changes once on the top. There is a review changes on the top, right, to the leftmost corner. Expand that. Here you can see there is an approve, right? Okay, so this is something we missed. So there is an approve and there is request changes. So you can do anything. So let's request another change. So let's go with request changes. Don't approve it, request for another change. Ask me to add text, change the P and R to small letters in the understanding pull request, request changes, and submit review. So he's requesting some changes for that pull request. You need to leave a comment indicating the requesting changes. So you can leave a comment also, scroll up. So he comment. See that submitted. So we have seen closing a pull request with a comment, and now he is requesting for changes now. Where is that? Okay, add your review, click on it. Okay, click on review changes again. on top of it write a comment saying like change P and R to small letters in dummy.txt. Change P and R in pull request. P and R in pull request to small letters in dummy.txt file. So now again he's requesting for the changes. So once the request is given for us, he's submitting his review again. So this is the second iteration. So we submitted once, he asked for some changes, we have done that. Again he's asking for some changes and we are doing that. So now the changes were requested. Earlier he closed it, we opened that pull request. Now he's changing, he's requesting some changes on it. So now if I share my screen, I'll see the same changes, and now I need to start doing those changes on my local machine. So if I come back here, so what is that I should see now? So the changes are requested. What is the change request that is requested? So he is asking us to he's asking us to do some changes. One change is requested, no conflicts. So if I click on this without any changes, we are just asking him to request review. So we thought like it is the correct implementation, but if you feel like he gave the wrong comments, you can again you can just click on this so that a request will be sent to him. Now what are the changes that he requested for us? Review requested. Where is that? Where is that? Where is that? Add understanding pull request text, add text understanding pull request. So this is the first commit commented 12 months ago. So this is commented, added. So this is the request that we submitted, and after that, so on top of this pull request, he's asking us to do the changes like change P and R in pull request to dummy text. So this is the review request, change request that he's asking for us now. So we understood that he's asking us to do a change on that particular file, right? You can also see the symbol over here. This says requested changes. If it is approved, you will see a green color tick mark, and if it is comments, it will be a different symbol. So that all you can explore on your own, but for now let me do these changes that he requested. So again, go back to your local repository and open your git bash. The requested changes are the P and R should be changed to the small letters. So I'm doing that. So P is changed to small letter and R is changed to small letter, and I'm saving it now and I'm closing it. So once this is closed, what I have to do now, I just need to add this and I just need to commit this. And this is upstream branch 2, and once this is done, git what I have to do, I need to push this because this is a change that is been implemented. So when I do a git push, so it is pushed, so these changes will be there on the remote repository now. So if I go back to my repository back again, so go to your code again, so and see, go to your upstream 2 branch, and on the upstream 2 branch, what is the file that is requested to be changed? Dummy.txt. So dummy.txt, we changed the P and R to small letters. Now go to your pull requests that are there. So on this pull request, and this is the pull request which is currently in the progress. Now we have done the changes, and now again you need to send the request. So here changes are requested, so you have done the changes. Then what you have to do is changes are requested. So now you can put a comment on top of this. So what is that comment? So look at this. This is the change that we have done. I was saying you right. So there is some change that is happened over here. So that change you can simply oversee that earlier. This is the text that was there. Now we have changed the text to this one. So whatever in the green color, that is the present text that is there. This is the old text that was earlier there with this. So this is what the comment we have done. So now what I can do is I can put a comment saying like changes to the pull request text in the changes to the pull request changes to the pull request text in the changes to the pull request text in the dummy.txt file unpetti in comment button. I'll send a comment now. I sent a comment on top of it. Now he can view that comment, and also we want to know whether he is getting any notification for this or not. So so let's see. I added a comment for the change that is requested. So now if he shows that, now here let him share his screen and show what is happening on his screen now. Kadir, can you share your screen and show the changes that you have done, and can you approve this pull request now? So look at the mail as well. So everything is been, you can see it in the mail. You are receiving this because you are modifying this changes to the pull request dot text. A file is done. So I have he got an email with a notification of that saying like this is done. Now he can review the changes and he can approve the changes now. So upstream, so this is the pull request that is running right now. So he can go to this and he can review it, and he can review the changes that he requested, and he can now approve that. So you can expand the review and put a comment saying like approved and approve the code. So in the comments you can say it is approved, proceed to merge. So once this is done, he can just submit the review for me. So it is approved. So this pull request is changes approved. Now let me share my screen, and now I'll see those changes reflecting in my GitHub repository. So if I come back here and see the changes that are there over here, now let's see, I am getting a tick color mark. So the reviewer approved the approved my changes. So if I click on this request review, so a new review will be sent to him again. So he can share his screen now again and show how he's getting it. So again he can approve that, so that I can comment these changes to the master branch. So can you share your screen and show us the review requested review again? So if you go to his pull request again, he can see that I raised an review request again, re-review request. So again, if you scroll down, you should see something like a request is already been reviewed. No, can you scroll on the other page, like what is conversations? Scroll down. So they look at that, scroll up once, little scroll up. So after approved and proceed to merge, so Ganesh K approved and proceeded and asked me to proceed to merge. After that, again I requested for a review. Now he will review that again and he will approve that again. So can you review that and approve that again? So in the conversations, you can see what is happening on that pull request. So the forth and back iterations. So now this is approved, right? Now he again approved the pull request. Now if I go back here again, so I see that same changes reflecting in my repository as well. So if I see it is approved again, so I even if I go to my conversations, so these are the conversations, like change P and R is there, and after that I asked for a review again, he approved it. Now what I can do is I can merge this pull request. So even if I expand this, squash and merge, you know what is squash and merge, what is rebase and merge. So I'm creating a merge commit. So merge pull request. So it's asking me to confirm merge. So I'm saying confirm merge. So once the merge is done, the code of the upstream 2 will be there on the main branch now. So if I go back to my code now again, so whatever changes that are there on the file, which is like earlier in the master file, we have only few things. So that you can see on the local repository as well. If you switch to the master file, you don't have all these files. Okay, so if I switch to the master branch, we have only very few files, like one or two files are there. So if I switch to master branch, only these files are there in the master branch. Now as we have merged that whatever branch that is, I didn't remember, that is upstream 2, whatever branch that we have merged to this particular main branch, the merge is successful. So as the merge is successful, we have no more use with that branch. What is that branch? Upstream 2 branch. You don't have any use with that branch now, so you can simply delete that branch. That you have seen an option, right? Delete a branch at the bottom of that, so you can delete that branch right away over there. Okay, so that is how this pull request cycle goes away. So now you don't have any open or things. You have only one closed this one repository, I mean pull request. So at the down of the pull request, so you are asking, it is asking you to delete the branch, because whatever feature that you want to be added, that is already approved and it is merged with the master branch. It is already there in the production environment. So this branch is no more needed. So you can simply click on delete branch. Even you can restore the change, restore the branch if you want it. So now if you go back to your code and see what is happening over here in the upstream branch, so you don't see that branch again. So that is how you can create pull request for each and every feature that you are adding. You can get it approved and add it to the master branch. So this is how a pull request basically works for us. Okay, this is all about creating a pull request and submitting a pull request, getting it reviewed, adding the comments, doing the changes, and getting it approved, merging it to the master branch, and deleting the branch that is requested. So this is all about creating a pull request and adding a collaborator to this pull request. Once the collaborator is added, he actually doesn't need to use our personal access token. He can generate his own personal access token by going to what is that you say, by going to settings, and by going to settings, and he can go to the developer settings, and under the developer settings he will be able to see something called as personal access token. He can generate his own token and he can use that to connect to this particular GitHub repository. Okay, so he can even do that. So this is all about Git and GitHub, and there could be some things that you may able to achieve on your own, like creating a new organizations. Organization is something like, until now we have created personal accounts. Maybe if you create an organization, you will see multiple options or multiple requests that you can provide for the multiple level of accesses. So here you will see something like access, who is the owner of this organization, who is the member of this organization, and all the stuff. So you can even invite a member. So let me invite you the same number. So let me just quickly give you an overview. When you create an organization, it works similar to the individual accounts, but the only change is like here you will have multiple roles, like who is the there you don't have like owners or reviewers, or multiple roles are not there. So here you will have all those roles. So when you want to create an organization, so just you can click on this plus button and you can see a new organization. So once you created a new organization, so it asks you for what kind of organization that you want to add for, whether it is a free organization which will have a few basic features. The team is the standard organization that you use. Enterprises have different kind of but for now it is sufficient to create an organization with name something like this. So if you create an organization, you just need to give the name for the organization. Let's say practice organization. So this is something practice organization is the name that I'm giving. So contact email, what is the contact email? So that is the organization name, and say let me give my email to this. So this is my contact email, and the organization belongs to a business or introduction, or the organization belongs to personal account. So it asks for whether it's GitHub example American. So whether it is business or institution. So name of the business or education. Let me give it as education. Even you can create a personal one. That's up to you. So it is asking us to verify a puzzle. Pick the spiral galaxy. This is the spiral galaxy, and click on next. Search for username. So if you want to add any member to this organization, so you can add them. Learn more about permissions for organization. So here you can get all the details who will have permissions, like ownership, billing managers to this organization. So these are all the permissions: owner, member, and billing managers. So these guys will have permissions for these things. Okay, editing billing information and all these steps. So you can explore this part, but I'm just showing you how to create an organization. Let me add K Ganesh 008, right? This is the one, right, Ganesh? Hello. Hello, Ganesh. Hello. Ganesh K37. Okay, so this is the guy. So complete setup. So these are all the details. Writing code. How many people do you expect? 6 to 15. And what type of work do you plan to use this organization for? Education projects. And what do you expect to do GitHub in the next 7 days? Collaborate on code, manage code, plan and tracking work, set up CI/CD, set up CI/CD. So we have only 3. Do you have an existing repository for this project? No. And clicking on submit. Once this is submit, an organization is created. Inside that you can create as many repositories as possible that you want to. So all these repositories or the projects will be inside that organization. So it's like closed pack of all the projects in of a particular organization. So it's like sample project that I'm creating here, and let's call this as a private repository, and scroll down here, create a repository, and now a repository is created. Now if you can go to your organization and go to your people, and you can invite a member. So members, one member is there, pending invitations, he has to accept the invite, and he is the member. So you can even edit the invitation, and if you want to make him as an owner, you can make him as an owner. Owners have full administrator right to the organization and have complete access to all the repositories, and members can see all the other members and can be granted access to repositories. They can also create new repositories. So once you add him, if he approves that, we can change the permissions of him. So even if you can go to the settings, so billings and plans, you'll see all these options only in the what to say, in the organization only. You says that is there on this month packages and all this stuffs. Start sponsoring GitHub sponsors and all this stuffs. Member privileges. If you come here, what privileges that you want to give? Base permissions. Read. So member permissions. These are all member permissions. So what kind of permissions that you need to give? Repository forking, whether you want to provide repository forking to that person or not. So this comes under organization security. If you need multi-factor authentication, you can allow all this stuff. So you can explore this on the fly. It is not possible with single account. So that's all for Git and GitHub. You can practice this thoroughly, and let's have a quick 1 hour code jam competition on this some other day in the next week. Thank you.